Hi, I'm David Cogswell in Cape Town, South Africa, at the Zeitz Museum of Contemporary African Art with Jerry Mpufane, head of the North American hub of the South African Tourism Association, and this is Insider Travel Report. So, Jerry, it's great to see you. Great to be in the world's favorite city here. How are you today?
I'm well, thanks, David. Welcome to Cape Town. We spent the last week together in Durban at the Africa's Travel Indaba. So, Cape Town this weekend, and I hope you have a great time.
So let's talk about Indaba now. How did Indaba go? Indaba is a great South African, Pan-African travel trade show, and we just left there. So how was the attendance and all that?
The Indaba was fantastic this year. I always say to colleagues that if we didn't have to do anything else but execute Indaba very well, we would have done our jobs. And today and this past week is one of those where we reflect on the work that's gone into the Indaba itself, the guests, the exhibitors, hosted media, all of the activities of the week. We're very proud of the work that's gone into it, and we're very proud of the result.
And what would you say the result is?
If we take a step back and think to the years of lockdown, not too far back, and in the context of our sector, the travel industry, I think we're going to be talking about lockdown for a long time. Pre-lockdown, we were on the up and up, doing well as a destination, just like any other destination. And then, of course, we went into lockdown. We came out. The first Indaba after lockdown achieved upwards of about 70% of attendance, which was great for year one in person at the Indaba. This year we went past the 80% mark as compared to pre-lockdown, which is a great result. The one thing that excites us about the outcome of this last week is that just in terms of the number of meetings taking place at the market, they've exceeded our numbers from 2019. Which, as you can expect, as a travel market, if there's a core reason we all here, is to facilitate that engagement between our local product and buyers who are traveling in from the outside. So that's a great outcome, and we're excited about that.
So in a sense, even though attendance is at 80%, productivity is beyond 100. Right?
Absolutely, and that's an interesting one. In fact, the way you put it, in that there probably is some kind of a lesson in there. But if we were to talk specifically about the ultimate result of a travel market, is how buyers can connect with product, with services, with experiences. If both parties are happy, we've achieved our ambition.
It's fantastic. Now, this has been accomplished with a handicap in a sense, because during the lockdown, which just crucified travel, the national carrier, South African Airways, has stopped flying internationally, and that is difficult. So how are we doing with airlift to South Africa? And what are the chances of seeing South African Airways start flying internationally again?
So airlift is a story of two parts. During lockdown itself, many parts of the world lost their connectivity, lost the airlift, because it was literally physically locked down. South African Airways unfortunately suffered that. South African Airways' plan as we speak is they're very actively energized servicing the South African domestic market. They've done a great job expanding into the region. They're now servicing the rest of Africa. which is great. Their next goal, and they will start before the end of this year to hit the overseas markets and reopen some of those routes. So as they are building capacity, we're hopeful that soon they'll be back specifically on the North America route. But we know that before the end of this year, they'll be picking up a few more additional overseas routes. We obviously cannot wait to have our national carrier back for many reasons. But the exciting news is that they're back on the up and up, and it's exciting for us.
And hopefully one of those international routes will be the United States, I hope.
You listen to their plans. They certainly have every ambition to come back onto that particular route. It used to be one of their famous ones, and it's excellent. You may ask what is our interest there? As a destination marketing organization, we like working with the national carrier because we talk always about, your holiday doesn't happen at destination. It starts as you leave your home. And if we can deliver the South African touch in a uniquely South African hospitable way, from the time you leave your home destination, we would have done a great job in promoting our destination.
That is true. And I have flown both South African Airways and United States domestic carriers here, and I have to say there's a huge difference, and much of it is what you say, that as soon as you get on board, you're in the South African culture. Your hostesses and attendants are South African with that cheerful South African vibe, which is fantastic. This is still really a new country, one of the newest countries on earth. Maybe it's less than 30 years since it left this apartheid lockdown sort of state and became a free democratic country. So it's evolving very fast anyway. And now we have the COVID lockdown to interrupt that flow, but the market is evolving. So can we talk about how the market has evolved in the last, say, 3 years?
Yes. So and let's start with overall the tourism sector is a very important contributor to economic growth in our new democracy. We 29 years, beg your pardon, this year, aiming for the big 30 next year. So 30 years of freedom, 30 years of democracy for South Africa, 2024. As we look ahead, it's very exciting. If you consider, David, that freedoms everywhere are under threat. And if South Africa can remind ourselves as a nation and the rest of our fellow humans elsewhere that freedoms can be treasured and should be treasured, that's certainly our goal to celebrate that next year. What it means from the tourism perspective is that we are able to invite the people of the world to come and share in the story of South Africa. A holiday is about, checking out of your daily life, a little bit of relaxation, but a holiday is also about exploring and learning new things. And the story of South Africa is what puts our destination really at the forefront of those interesting, life-changing experiences you can embark on. So the story of freedom, the story of democracy, a flourishing democracy, a growing nation, is something that interests the people of the world, and it's certainly core to our invitation of the people of the world to come and visit. Tourism, where we've been, where we are today, we are tracking roughly at about 70% of our pre-pandemic numbers, just in terms of overall arrivals as destination South Africa. So we're on a path of recovery, and a great path of recovery. If you talk about the North America market specifically, it delivers very well for South Africa in that we've now become the fastest growing overseas market for South Africa is North America, which is good news. And then, of course, the traveler from North America spends the longest of all travelers in South Africa, spends the most of all travelers who come to South Africa. So it's become a very important market for all those reasons. So exciting times as we grow in North America and growing the destination everywhere else.
Yeah, it seems like North America is a relatively new, undeveloped market for South Africa, where Europe and Britain is a long time. Now, wasn't there a moment there where United States became North America rather became the top, but that's gone down again, right?
So historically, call it the last 10 years plus, North America was the third biggest source of overseas travelers for South Africa. In and around lockdown, and we're thankful to the government of the United States for this and the industry at large. When every other nation across Europe stayed under lockdown for an extended period, the Americans and South Africans kept the borders open, which means that we were able to launch some initiatives to promote travel during lockdown, which means that we were able to significantly launch new routes back to the airline and airlift discussion during lockdown. So what it meant was we were an energized source market during a time when people weren't traveling. So when we closed the year 2021, the US became the number one overseas market for South Africa, ahead of the UK, which has historically been our number one overseas market for obvious reasons, proximity and cultural ties and economic ties, and obviously the membership of the Commonwealth with the UK. So we reached that particular point because we stayed active during lockdown. We became the number one market. We've now stayed and stabilized at number two. UK has regained their position as number one. Fantastic for destination, and we grow both regions. We're happy.
So now, even with the cessation of international flights for South African Airways, there's still a lot of lift now coming from the U.S. with United and Delta. Is it actually, how does it compare to previous?
So the connectivity out of North America into South Africa is via a number of options. People travel via European carriers into South Africa. People travel via the carriers in the Gulf into South Africa. Significant players are the ones that deliver direct airlift. And you mentioned United Airlines and you mentioned Delta Airlines. What we love about those two airlines is as we were wanting to pick up and establish frequencies on the route, having lost our national carrier, they were the ones who were able to pick up the routes, launch direct flights, and service the destination, as it were. So that was fantastic news. And in fact, a lot of the growth we're experiencing now has to do with the fact that we're getting that direct airlift. In addition to that, those two airlines, on the back of demand for our destination, took on an initiative to petition their own Department of Transport for frequencies, which they were able to achieve. So we've now got multiple entry points at a direct level coming out of different regions of the US into South Africa, which is great today and bodes well for the future.
Fantastic. I'd like to sort of close up with something you touched on a minute ago and said very well about the sense of freedom here and the way that people can come here and experience that at a time when freedom is under attack in so many places, and to see that it's worth fighting for and so forth. And everywhere you are in South Africa, you can talk about it, but you have to experience it yourself. The freedom of people who were suppressed so badly, the majority of people are suppressed so badly for like 50 years almost. It's to see them released and recognized as full citizens. It's just a euphoria in the air. Maybe you can talk just a little bit about what you think are the main reasons. To me, that's probably the biggest reason to come here. It's a beautiful country in so many ways, but I think that's the top. Talk a little bit about what you think it offers to Americans.
So the scientists across the world agree that modern man, modern woman first walked in these parts. So we like to claim that we're the home of humanity. And that's not just a claim. The scientists tell us that. So when you come to South Africa, you get to experience specifically the cradle of humankind, named as such because the fossils that were discovered by the scientists as proof points to modern man, modern woman walking these parts are found there. And scientific experiments are still taking place in that region. When you visit South Africa, you visit the cradle of humankind. You're walking on some kind of hallowed ground. Talking about humanity, whether it be Archbishop Tutu, whether it be Miriam Makeba, whether it be Nelson Mandela, everywhere, at home, elsewhere, when they talk about South Africa and what makes South Africa special, they talk about South Africa's humanity. We have a philosophy in South Africa called Ubuntu. Simply means I am because you are. You are because I am. At the very core, it is about humanity. If you come visit South Africa, you interact with our people, you certainly experience that unmistakable hospitality, unmistakable human connection, and that is what ultimately changes people's lives. I often get asked the question about, what kind of work, what is it you do? And yeah, we can talk in industrial terms about the tourism sector, etc. The truth is that tourism is an industry of peace. The more people experience different cultures, the more people experience different approaches, meet different people, opens your mind. We're in that business of connecting humans, and we're in that business of connecting human beings for the better good. And what better place than South Africa?
Very well said, sir. Thank you very much. I'm Jerry Mpufane. I'm so pleased to have this opportunity to speak with you. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. This is Insider Travel Report. Travel.